There are tons of tutorials on YouTube about how to create an NFT collection, but most of them are either completely outdated or don't show the entire process. In this video we're going to show you how to generate your collection, put it on the Solana blockchain, set up your mint page and realize your project from all technical aspects. And all this works even if you have zero coding knowledge. We don't expect you to have any prior knowledge of any of this, but with some very little terminal experience and some general soft skills, this whole process shouldn't be a problem for you. But even if not, no worries, we're going step by step through the entire process without skipping anything. Some of you will be more experienced, so we have added a lot of chapters in the video, so you can jump to what interests you or rewatch parts. For the best experience, we recommend you to join our Discord server and have a look at our Ultimate Guide channel. There you will find all links and commands we used in the right order, so you can copy paste them or double check yours. As one of the biggest Solana builder communities, we also have plenty of experts who help the community voluntarily. One more thing before we start with the fun part. It cost us more than a week and about 50 hours to create this video, therefore we ask you only for 3 things, which have a huge impact for us. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please make sure to follow us on Twitter. We will be much more active there now. But first of all, we will give you a shot about NFTs and the current crypto/NFT market situation, with a very special guest.
What's the deal? It's CodyOnChain, and the homies over at Stractors asked me for my opinion. They said, hey yo, can you tell me about the current state of the Solana NFTs and what's going on? And that's exactly what I'm here to do. If you don't know me, I'm an NFT YouTuber, so go ahead and check out my channel. But let's dive right into the state of the market, starting with the macroeconomics. Let's just quickly touch on what Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana are doing. It really affects the entire market if we're in a bull or a bear. Bitcoin did hit a low of 17K, but as of the time of this recording, which is August 1st, 23K right now for Bitcoin is looking pretty good. We got ETH just under 1700 and we have Solana just over $40. These are off their all-time lows. We saw these things get pummeled, ETH under 1,000, Solana down to 25. So this is good to see. The next thing we want to look at is overall trading volume to see how many people are actively participating in the space, especially in Solana. We're going to look at Magic Eden, and actually yesterday was a pretty good day, 70K total sold traded, but recently look at EZ's Bodega tweet, it was down to 42K. That's bad. I want to see over 100K per day at the price Solana currently for me to think that we're back into a healthy market. One of the reasons is there's nothing huge dropped recently. We had Fruits was like the biggest drop in the past month, which even that kind of fizzled out and died. Solana's summer has been a bit dry. The major takeaway right now is the gambling meta is super hot. Cubist Collective being able to bet on floor price predictions. We have Degen Fat Cats and all these other crash and coin flip type games are doing pretty well. Goes show that even in a bear market, Solana people can just be straight up degens, which I love. I'm the biggest degen there is. One thing we got to look at in terms of the state of the market for Solana NFTs, the biggest upcoming mints, and we got Dubbies, nope, we got Utes, name change from our boy Frank from DGods, aka the second collection from the DGods community. Should be dropping sometime in August, we don't have an exact date. Also Pilots from Teo should also be dropping in August. We basically have some of the blue chips with Teo Robotics and DGods dropping second collections in August, so that's great to see. We have John Lee coming on as the art director for Utes, and John Lee might have single-handedly made it so that the one-of-one art collector space in Solana is what's really pumping right now this first week August, last week of July. Buyers are actually a lot more cautious right now, so founders are having to put in a lot more work to sell out their collections, and rightfully so. Even Urkan, which is a well-known influencer which had a huge army behind degen sweepers, struggled to sell even 20% of his collection. There's blood in the streets right now, so where's the opportunity lie? It's all about just staying in the game. I do think the market is going to turn around, and when it turns around, you're going to want to be here with a few things. Right now, I'm spending this time making new connections. I want to talk to more people. I want to join more DAOs. I want to just basically get my knowledge level up of the Web3 space, so when this next bull market does inevitably come around, I'm ready to pounce and really cash out. So again, I'm CodyOnChain. That's the state of the Solana NFT market right now, and what you really need to do is just stay in the game.
A huge thanks to you, Cody. If you want to stay up to date when it comes to Solana NFTs, then make sure to follow him. But let's now dive into the fun part and start with the technical go-through. In this video, we will be using the Candy Machine program by Metaplex with the brand new Sugar CLI. Huge shoutouts to Metaplex to make such a wonderful smart contract open source so projects can realize everything on their own without writing a single line of code. And if you might have heard about Candy Machine in the past, but not about Sugar, then let me explain you the most important facts quick. Everything has been reworked from scratch and we now have a whole new user experience with the Sugar CLI. We don't have to write the longest commands in the world for an upload anymore, and the upload doesn't take years anymore, and it's much more beginner friendly. It also reruns by itself. But the price to make a collection is still the same, 1.67 Solana for 1000 NFTs for the candy machine rent, and basically we have the same workflow for most things, just with less pain in the ass. Before I give the word to OneStone, who will teach and honor you for the next 2 hours, I would like to go through the structure of what is shown in this video. First of all, we will have a full preparation and installation part, as many of you wished this in the past. Then we will show you how to generate artworks and metadata with the newest standard, and also give you our honest opinion with the generators out there. Followed by the most important part, the setup of your candy machine with the Sugar CLI. Right after that we will build, design and publish our mint site / frontend, and after that we will show you how to prepare your presale and whitelist. Followed by something we haven't done in the past, we will give you a shot about the real world, how to realize a clean mint, where we show you how we did it for Launchpad customers so far. And last but not least, we will talk about possible mistakes and errors. That's it for my part. My name is Vars, I wish you much fun watching and success in your project.
Let's start directly into preparations and installations. So the first page, which is interesting for us, is the getting started part of the Candy Machine JS CLI documentation. Although the Candy Machine CLI is deprecated, the 4 tools mentioned here, Git, Node, Yarn and Tears Node, are basically important for everything you do within the Solana ecosystem. So I think this is a great starting point at all. Maybe one additional information for pros and people who are on macOS. If you are familiar with Brew, and we will use it later on for one purpose with M1 chips, you can use Brew to install most of the tools like Git, Node, Yarn, Tears Node and the Solana CLI. If you are familiar with it, then use Brew to install it, then you can skip the next minutes. The ways we will show are more easy ways, which are possible to use for nearly everyone. So just to keep in mind, if you are a Brew user, if you are on macOS, then just install them with Brew. Let's start directly with installing Git. As you can see here, we have an installation guide for Linux, for macOS and for Windows. For Windows, I know that it's very straightforward. For Linux, I think too. And for macOS, which you can see, I switched my environment from Windows to Mac. For macOS, in this case, it is perfect because Git in most cases is already installed, and if it's not installed, you just type git -- version, then you get like some kind of print that you need to install Xcode, command line tools, and then within a few enter hits you just get Git as the Apple Git version, which totally fits most of our needs and is perfect for us. So for macOS users, and I think for Linux and Windows users too, this step will be very straightforward. So let's close it. The next thing we have to install is nodeJS. Here we have the choice between latest and current. I always stick with the latest version because in most cases the current version has some problems. Here we have the Windows installer, macOS installer and some Linux binaries. As you know, in our case we will use the macOS installer. It's downloading the PKG, then just click it, continue, agree, install, type password, type password, hit enter, install software. Another typo, perfect. And within a few seconds nodeJS should be installed. There's my notification. Move to bin and we are good to go. So let's see, npm -- version, hit enter, and we can see we have version 8.11 of the nodeJS package manager. Perfect. So let's close this. So now we have our versioning tool, we have our JS runtime, and the next thing we need is our Yarn package manager, because most Solana front ends and most Solana tools are packed with Yarn. So the way we install this is by typing sudo for administrator rights and then npm install -g for global and then yarn, hit enter, and we are already in the sudo mode in our terminal. Normally you have to type your admin password and then you're good to go. So let's see, yarn -- version and 1.22.19. Perfect. So let's close this. And the last thing we have to install is tsnode. So let's see, we have here our npm, forgot the sudo npm install -g, and then I always stick with the tsnode keyword, hit enter. It's installing, so let's check tsnode -- version, everything installed properly. And this straightforward, we have installed the 4 most important tools. So we checked Git version, we checked node version, yarn version, tsnode version. Perfect. In my case, I have an Apple M1 chip, so we have to do one more step, which is installing Homebrew and doing some minor changes. So let's copy this one, paste it here, hit enter. Although if you use Homebrew or not, Brew is always a good choice and not necessary, but yeah, very straightforward and very good, I think, for every macOS user. So that's important. This can take a few seconds. So let's see what our next step will be. After installing Brew, run the following brew install, and then a very big command, which I'm not 100% sure what it does. I think installing some dependencies which we need on our M1 chips. Now we can see Brew's installed. So let's continue with the second step right here and paste it in here, hitting enter, and we see it's downloading a lot of stuff. And now the command finished. Took actually 1 or 2 minutes, but we can continue now. We have installed all the dependencies, git node, yarn, tsnode, and for our Apple M1 users, the extra stuff. So let's continue with the Solana tool suite or the Solana CLI. As you can see, there's a perfect Solana tool suite documentation, and here we have an installation guide for macOS and Linux, and for Windows as well. For Windows, I've done it several times. The only thing which is very important and which is missed by many people is to open the command prompt as administrator. This is very important. Without this, the whole process isn't working. So keep this in mind if you are on Windows. On Mac OS and Linux, the process is also very easy. We can just copy this bash command, hit enter, and it's downloading our Solana CLI. We should end up with a similar output like here. What we have to do is to see if we have to add it by ourselves to the path environment variables, and then in the end check if everything is installed properly. It's extracting right now. Normally this process takes, I don't know, 1 or 2 minutes. As we can see, it's finished right now, and here we can see downloading, okay, adding, close and reopen your terminal to apply the path changes or run the following in your existing shell. So let's run this command right here. We have done it, and let's test Solana -- version, and we see Solana CLI 1.10.32. Perfect. So Solana CLI is installed too. That's the way you do it on macOS. On Windows it's a little bit different, but just keep in mind open as administrator and you should be good to go. The next thing we have to install is Sugar, the thing which this whole video is about. There are 2 possibilities. The one is the one for Mac OS, Linux, and the Windows subsystem for Linux, which is basically a possibility to use Sugar on Windows. That's what I can show you right now. As I saw, there's a possibility for Windows 2, which I haven't tested until right now. So yeah, if you are able to use the Windows subsystem, then I would stick with this, but I think the installation guide right here looks very decent too, so give it a try if you're on Windows. For Linux, we just have a similar process as before. We just copy the bash command, paste it into our terminal, and the download process is starting. And yeah, installing it, adding it to our path environment variables. So let's see if we have Sugar installed. Okay, I see Sugar binary will be moved, adding to path variable in. Okay, so let's try closing and reopening our terminal and try again Sugar -- version, and we see Sugar CLI 0.5.4. Perfect. So Sugar is there too. This maybe as a little hint, if something is not directly there, just close the terminal, reopen it. Sometimes we need this, sometimes not. I'm not 100% sure what this is caused by, but that's the way it works. The next thing that we should install is an IDE or an editor. I personally prefer Visual Studio Code, so let's download it right away. For me, it's just the easiest to use, the easiest to install, flexible. You can use it with like every programming language existing. There are millions of extensions, so it's just my personal way to go for an editor. So yeah, if you have a standard IDE, you can use it probably too. If not, then I would recommend Visual Studio Code. So let's unzip this real quick, and then we see it's an executable on application. So let's drop it into applications, and then we see we should be able to open it. Yeah, I'm sure I want to open it. Okay, perfect, and it's installed. So then we have one more tool which we need. I think most of you will know it. It's the Phantom Wallet extension. Yeah, just add it to your preferred browser. I think it should be available for most of the browsers except probably Microsoft Edge. And then you can create a new wallet or like import your secret passphrase or something like that. I will skip this part because of like privacy and security reasons. But yeah, basically when you have Phantom Wallet, you're able to send and receive Solana. You can yeah, like connect to any site. If you prefer, you can probably use Solflare too, but yeah, I always stick with Phantom Wallet, and I'm happy about it. So the last thing that is missing is Python, which we will need later on. On Mac OS, Python is already pre-installed, so no need to do anything right here. What I recognize, I think on Linux too, by the way, I think on Linux system Python 3 should be installed too. For Windows users, the easiest way to install Python is just with the Microsoft Store. It's just like straightforward, a few clicks and finished. There are like more clean but also more complicated ways, but I think most of you will be able to figure them out. So yeah, for the people who want it easy, just use the Microsoft Store. Clear recommendation from my side. Let's check what we got so far. So the first thing we installed is Git, our versioning tool, or our tool to clone repositories from GitHub. Then we got Node, our JavaScript runtime, and Yarn, our preferred package manager. Then we have TS Node, our TypeScript execution environment. We have the Solana CLI, which is used to create wallets and manage the basic Solana stuff from your CMD. Then we have Sugar, our Candy Machine CLI, and additionally we have an IDE or editor as Visual Studio Code, for example, and we have our Phantom extension to use Solana sites, connect to websites and all that stuff. In the end, we installed Python. For running Python scripts later on, you will see what we use it exactly for. The next step I usually do is setting up my folder structure and preparing my first wallet. Therefore, let's move into the Finder, and create a new folder named traditional EV2. And then let's open the terminal within this folder and let's generate our first key pair. Therefore, we will use the command solana-keygen grind --starts-with, and then we can choose with which letters our key pair should begin. I prefer to use SE for seller wallet, but most projects choose something related to their project, because this wallet will be used later on as our certified creator, as our update authority. So if you have a look at the NFTs, you see this wallet everywhere. So most projects do something related, as we could, for example, choose a public key beginning with SL for Stractors Labs or something like that. Just keep this in mind when you generate your key pair. You can also choose more letters, but from 5 letters on, it takes way too long to generate a new key or to find a new key. So keep this in mind, try it out as you wish, but yeah, what I prefer is always 3 or 4 letters if you do something related to your project. With 2 letters, it's pretty fast. And now we can see that within our V2 folder, our seller wallet is generated. So the next thing which is important is import our seller key pair into Phantom wallet. So we open the JSON, we copy our private key, then we went into our Phantom wallet, we click add or connect wallet, import private key, we paste our private key here, and we give it a name, in our case seller wallet, of course. And within a few clicks we have our seller wallet imported. Because I would recommend for you, and we will do it in this video too, we start always with DevNet. It makes sense to directly switch the network in our Phantom wallet from Mainnet to DevNet. Therefore, click the little gear icon on the bottom right side, then scroll down to change network and click DevNet. And within a few seconds we are in the DevNet. To test some stuff with our DevNet wallet, we need Sol. And how do we get DevNet Sol? It's pretty easy. We can just add our key pair to our config. To do this, we type solana config get first. See, okay, we are currently on Mainnet API with our RPC URL, and our key pair is currently our id.json. So let's switch this up. Therefore, we type solana config set -k for key pair, and then we will type our seller key pair name. What I usually does is just type the first 2 letters and then hit tab, and within a few seconds it just fills it out automatically. And then we type --URL and DevNet, hit enter, and we see it switched automatically to DevNet API, and our key pair is correct too. So now to get some DevNet Sol, there's a single command which does this for us, which is Solana airdrop and then the amount of Solana you want to have. I think there's a limit of 2 Solana, so I usually just airdrop me 2 Solana airdrop 2. It takes a few seconds and then we got 2 DevNet Solana, which we can also check within our Phantom wallet. If you already have a wallet within Phantom, which you want to use for your Solana CLI to generate your NFTs and all that stuff, there's not an easy way to do this, but there's a simple workaround. What we need is this JSON file. A JSON file with a list of numbers which represent your private key. If we export our wallet from Phantom, what we get is exactly the same, but in a different format. We have numbers and letters. This is not what we need. So what I usually do is copy the private key, then move to Solflare wallet. I have this one already installed, but you can just easily install it via the Chrome Web Store. And then I import the private key, which I just copied from Phantom, into my Solflare wallet. Therefore, I click here, import private key, I paste the private key, give it a quick name, seller wallet, and add it to my Solflare wallet. Then what I do is I click the gear icon and export the private key. And here within Solflare Wallet, we get the correct format. So everything we have to do is copy what we see here, open a new JSON file, paste it in there, save it, and then we can use it as if we generated the Solana key via the CLI, and everything works perfect. So little sum up, what do we got right now? We have a wallet which we can use for everything we have with some DevNet Solana on it. Our Phantom wallet is changed to the DevNet network, so we can use our Phantom wallet within DevNet functionalities. And we have learned how to import an existing Phantom wallet into our Solana CLI. And I would say with that, we can move on to artwork and metadata generation. After the initial work that the artist does, generating the collection is probably one of the most important aspects when doing an NFT project. For this, we mainly use two tools that are useful for different settings. A Hashlips fork from NFT chef named Art Engine, and the simple NFT generator of Harleprix, which was before a part of the Metaplex repository. Let's begin with the Hashlips fork. Hashlips is probably the most famous art generator out there and does a good job, but for our purposes it misses some functionalities which NFT chef added. For example, DNP, nested folder, Premade Customs, and all that stuff is implemented into this art engine. But although it is full with functionalities, in our eyes it only makes sense to use this engine if not all NFTs share the same layers. A very good example for this is if you have NFTs which has male and female characters, or different fractions for example. In this case, you can split the layers into folders of two variants and generate two stacks of NFTs in one collection. You see here an example for this. You have grow edition size 2, so the NFTs from 0 to 2 will have background and female hair, and the NFTs from 3, 4 and 5 have background, eyeball and male hair. In this kind of way you can generate a female and a male character within one collection. This functionality makes it very easy to deal with such situations. In addition, with the fork, you also have the possibility to nest folders or force or exclude combinations, what I mentioned also in the beginning. Apart from this use case, Hashlips is fundamentally more difficult to use than other generators and complicates the usage at many ends. For example, when excluding individual layer combinations, they have to be written in a certain order, which in many cases make DNPs much more complicated than they need to be. In the end, each of you has to decide which tool you like better and which tool you can handle better. But from our point of view, the Metaplex generator is the better tool in most cases, so for most collections of you. Since we already have 1000 videos about Hashlips on the internet, we will only show you the Metaplex generator in this video. But if you want us to make another video about the Hashlips art engine fork, please let us know this in the comments. To get started with the simple NFT generator, the first thing we have to do is obviously cloning the repository. Therefore, let's copy this HTTPS link here. Let's go into our terminal and type git clone, paste the link, make sure we are in the v2 folder and hit enter. And now it's cloning the repository and we should now see the simple NFT generator repository right here. So now let's move into this folder, cd simple NFT generator, hit enter and let's type yarn install. So it installs all the dependencies we need. This can take a few seconds, so in the meantime, let's have a look at the traits. So what we need to generate our collection is a folder named traits, in the best case, with as many subfolders as you have attributes in your collection. And within the subfolders, we have our PNGs. So as you can see here, I have a folder named traits, where we have subfolders named background, eyes, face and mouth. And in these folders, for example, in the folder background, I have all the possible choices for the attribute background. For example, blue, brown, flash, green, light blue, and so on and so on. Same for eyes with egg eyes, heart eyes, square eyes, star eyes, and so on. And the same for face. So basically, this is the structure which we need to generate our traits. Now, the simple NFT generator has finished his installation. So let's move on, and the next important step we have to do is generating our traits configuration. Therefore, we have a simple command which we can run with a simple NFT generator. But before we do this, I just want to give a little disclaimer regarding Mac users. I think you probably know these .ds store files, which are basically in every folder. You can't see them in the Finder because they are hidden, but basically on Mac they are everywhere. And these ones are often throwing some kind of error. So if you get an error and you see anywhere .ds store, then I have a command which you can use to solve this problem. Therefore, let's move back to the CD folder and move to our traits folder, because that's the folder which we work on right now. And then type find .-name, then .ds underscore store, and then -print, so that we can see what is exactly deleted, and then delete. And when we now hit enter, on my side I don't have these store files anymore in my traits folder, but probably on your side there will be a dstore file. You can just run this command and you see, okay, dstore within traits folder is deleted, and you're good to go. And now we can move back to our v2 folder and generate our art configuration file command. Therefore, let's start with tsnode and then write // and then cycle through our folder with the tab button, and we need to go to the simple NFT generator. Now I press the right arrow and back and / again, and then I can again cycle through with tab, and what we need is messed it up, and what we need is our CLI.ts. And now we can use the command which we want to run, so generate _art configurations with an S at the end, and then our folder name where the traits are, so traits. And when we now hit enter, we see our traits configuration file is generated. So let's open that up. And here we got the traits configuration. So let's format that document real quick so that we have a better look. What do we got here? We got first of all name, which represents NFT name. So if you want to your NFTs to have the name something like NFT #12, for example, what you have to write here is NFT hashtag. And the 12 gets added automatically, so don't mind about that. The only thing you should have in mind when giving an NFT name is that there is an on-chain limit for NFT names, which is 32 characters. So keep in mind that also when you have, like, for example, more than 1,000 NFTs, when you have a hashtag 1000 at the end, that your NFT name is never bigger than 32 characters, and then you are completely fine, completely free to do whatever you want. Then we have symbol. Symbol has a limit too. It is 10 characters, which should be completely fine for like every symbol I have in mind. So let's take here something like TC for test collection. And then we have description. As I know and as I tested, description doesn't really have a limit. Probably it has a limit, but it's way too big to ever run into it. So you can type a lot of stuff here. Just maybe keep in mind that later on the description will be shown in the small phantom window too. So don't go completely crazy on this one, but I think you have a lot of freedom here. For our little purpose here, let's take this is a test collection, and we are fine. Then we have creators, and down here collection. These two got deprecated with the last changes with certified collections and sugar CLI and all that stuff. So we can basically just remove them from here, and then they are not printed into all the metadata. Seller fee basis points got deprecated too, so we have to remove this one. this one later from the JS2 because they are sadly getting added automatically with this NFT generator. But that's not a big deal. I will show you like a simple way to just remove this one, and yeah, we can move on. Then we have DNP and Premade Customs, which I want to talk about at the end, so let's skip this for the moment. And then we have Breakdown right here. Breakdown is the place where you list down all your PNG names, all your trait names, and the rarities. As you can see, while generating this traits configuration, the PNG names and the attribute names and all of this are automatically added. So the traits configuration is generated out of the traits folder, and that's where everything is already here. We get some random rarities which would work basically, because there's one rule which we have to keep in mind when giving rarities in the end. The rarities represent percentages, and they have to add up per attribute. They have to add up to 100. So keep in mind when you change the percentages, you can also do stuff like 6.5 and all that stuff. That's not a big deal, but keep in mind that in the end, for one attribute, all rarities together should add up to 100. Yeah, for our purpose, I don't have like special rarities in mind, so we can just stick with the random ones, and we are fine. And then down here we have order. Order is basically the order in which your PNGs get layered. So in this case, from top to bottom, it says background at first, then on top we get eyes, on top we get face, on top we get mouth, which is not 100% correct for our collection. What we need is background, face, eyes and mouth, and then we are ready. And then we have our picture size. To make sure I have the correct picture size, what I usually do is just go to the additional information of our traits, and then I see right here I have dimension 1000 times 1000. Perfect, same as it is here, and we are fine with our trait configuration for the moment. So let's talk about DNP and Premade Customs. DNP is to exclude combinations of two specific layers. Therefore, we have a I think pretty easy format. What we write is our attribute name. Let's, for example, take background right now, then the points and the braces, and then we can choose which first layer we don't want to combine with any second layer. So in this case, we can, for example, take blue.png, and this one shouldn't be combined, or not 6, shouldn't be combined with, I don't know, which attribute could we choose? Let's take eyes, and here it should be the layer, where are the brackets here? And here it should be the layer, for example, I don't know, egg eyes. Let's take egg dash eyes .png. So what this now says is we don't want that the background blue.png is combined with the eyes trait egg eyes. What we could now do is add more layers here, so we don't want it to be combined with, for example, hard eyes.png2. What we could do too is put a comma here and then say, and we also don't want that blue PNG is combined with the face trait, what do we got here, to cyan face dot png, forgot the quotes. So this is possible too, and then we could, for example, put a comma here and then say more backgrounds which we don't want to combine with any other layer, or we can put a comma here and then put another attribute which we want to not combine with another attribute and all that stuff. So this is the format which we work on here with the DNP. Basically it says what layers we don't want to combine with each other. So here you can like build up rules for basically everything. If you have two layers that doesn't fit together, then you do it here. So that has to be said to DNP. Maybe some collections we generated in the past had many rules for do not combine stuff. From a certain point we shouldn't go too crazy with the DNP2, because it's somehow could destroy the rarities. Because when we say we don't want to combine like 50 layers with the other 50 layers, but we have specific rarities there, we basically exclude like, I don't know, 50% of all possible cases, and that puts down the rarities completely. So keep in mind that you don't like go completely crazy on rarity on DNP, but yeah, it's a nice feature. If you have like some small layers which doesn't fit together, then you can use DNP therefore. Then we have Premade Customs. Premade Customs do exactly what the name says. It's for having specific layer combinations that 100% should be included into your collection. Like for example, you have, I don't know, layers which are for a specific character, and you want all the same layers for this specific character in one picture, 100% included into your collection. Then what we can do here is putting some braces, hit enter, and then we can just list down which layers we want 100%. So background should be on our Premade custom yellow. Forgot the quotes again. Yellow.png. We want the face. I'm not good with quotes today. We want the face to be I don't know, cyan-face.png. We want the eyes to be egg eyes.png, and we want to have the block mouth. So let's type mouth points and then block dash mouth dot png. So now we would have one Premade custom which has the attributes for background yellow, for face cyan face, we have eyes egg eyes, and mouth block mouth, and that's our Premade custom. So we could now list several of these. Just put a comma here and then do another one, copy paste, and now we would have a second Premade custom, and so on and so on. And these ones are 100% included into your collection. So if you need this functionality, just do it as I have done it here. And with this setup, our traits configuration is finished. So let's save this one and let's go back to our terminal. So now we can generate the generation command. Let's base this one on our generate traits configuration command. Don't know what happened here, but CLI TS, and then we can use the command create underscore generative underscore art, then dash C for where to find our traits configuration file, which is traits-configuration.json in our case, as we can see here. So we are on the v2 folder, there the file is, so everything perfect. We don't have to place a directory there or anything. Then we need -n for number, how many pictures we want to generate, let's say 100 for example. And then we have one additional attribute which is named TA, which is for removing the file name .png from our attributes. If you don't use this one, then in the end you have your attributes named blue png, so background is blue png or flash png, and we have eyes is egg eyes.png and all that stuff. With TA true, it will be just blue, brown, flash, egg eyes, herd eyes, and so on. So yeah, let's hit enter and see what happens. Okay, now we see the images are generated. Maybe interesting thing, what I also mentioned is we have yeah, it tries to generate JSONs which fits and which are random, but it generates them and then checks, okay, do we have any rule in our DNP that doesn't fit? And if it generates something and finds, okay, this doesn't fit with PNG because not including blue PNG, hard ice.png together, then it prints it down. So in this case, on 100 pictures with our small TNP, we had five issues, and this is fine. And now our images are generated. So let's have a look at our assets folder in our v2 folder, and we see we have 100 JSONs and PNGs. So let's open a few pictures up to see if everything is fine. Looks perfect. Great. A second one. Okay, exactly as it should be. And then let's have a look at one JSON file so that we see how the metadata of our NFTs would look like. And as you can see, NFT name #1, the one got added. Our symbol is TC. Image is always the image which this metadata is referring to. So 0.png when we have 0.json is perfect. The same for properties files, should be 0.png and the type which our picture is in, and plus the category down here. Then we have our description. This is a test collection. Then we have our seller fee basis points, which we will have to remove soon. And then we here have our attributes: mouth, triangle mouth, eyes, star eyes, background green, and face, teal face. And that's it. And that's our metadata. So let's have a look now how we can remove the seller fee basis points. To now remove seller fee basis points, or what could be a valid reason to do our next steps too, is if you have a fixed layer or something like that. So one layer which is just to fix a combination or to fix some layering issues. You don't want this to be an attribute in the end in your real collection. You don't want your customers to see, oh look, I have the attribute fixed layer. So this would be a case where you want to remove an attribute of all your metadata too. So how do we actually do this? First of all, we open our assets folder from VS Code. Don't save this one, just formatted it, and that's it. So now we have opened all of our assets folder and all our JSONs and PNGs within VS Code. This gives us some ability. We can now search and replace something in all of our files. Therefore, as you can see, all our files are in this one line format. So don't use format document right now. We just search in this one line for the thing we want to remove. In our case, seller fee basis points. Let me copy it with my keyboard. Okay, so we now want to remove seller fee basis points 500. So let's move on to the glasses right here, and then we can see seller fee basis points, but only for our open files. And therefore we have a text written here: exclude settings and ignore files are disabled, searching only in open files disable. And now VS Code is searching in all our files for seller fee basis points quote 500 comma. What we can now do is just leave replace empty and then hit replace all right here. Replace 100 occurrences across 100 files. Replace. It's loading a little bit, and as we can see now, everything is replaced. So seller fee basis points doesn't exist anymore anywhere here. They are just gone. And in this way you can edit with VS Code, and a few clicks you can edit all your metadata. You can, if you need to add attributes, you can remove attributes, and you can manipulate your metadata. But make sure to don't do this unreasonable. So if you have a really good reason, like the two reasons I mentioned earlier, then it makes sense. But what we have here: name, symbol, image, properties, files, category, description, attributes, all this have to be in there. So if you want to remove another attribute because you don't want your customers to see this attribute because it's, for example, as mentioned before, a fixed layer, or you want to remove something that's deprecated, like right now seller fee basis points, then it's totally fine. But don't remove anything besides that. And yeah, that's basically it for our metadata and artworks. I have now one additional thing regarding collections, so certified Metaplex certified collections. As you remember, we earlier removed collection from our JSON metadata. Since MCC, everything is different, but before it was handled a little bit complicated. So we had collection with name and family within our metadata. And on chain, when we have our collection uploaded and all that stuff, we had a certified creator. The certified creator represented the candy machine and the collection represented the name. And all NFTs with the same certified creator and the same collection name was somehow collected together to one collection. Right now, we have a collection NFT, let's name it like that. And under this collection NFT, it's somehow the parent of your whole collection. All NFTs are merged together to one collection. And the collection NFT holds the information like name, collection description, collection symbol, and all that stuff. And we have now, we should generate these collection.png and collection.json. The collection PNG is basically the, let's say, profile picture of our collection, and the collection JSON holds the metadata for our collection. So let's choose a profile picture for our smileys here, and I think 0.png is fine. The green smiley seems perfect as a profile picture. So let's copy this one. Control C, Control V, as well as our JSON file, and then let's name them collection.json and collection.png, and then let's move both of them into our asset folder. And now down here, there we see collection.json and collection.png. In the meantime, let's have a look at Metaplex docs. Under tools, sugar, and preparing your assets, we see what exactly we have to generate now. So here is explained how our normal NFTs should look like, our metadata, our PNGs, our folder structure. We have 9 PNG, 9 JSON, and all that stuff. And in the end, we have a collection.png. Our collection JSON holds a few informations. For example, name, which is our collection name, our symbol, our collection symbol, description, the description of our collection, and all that stuff. A few things to mention. Name can vary of your NFT names. So your NFT name could be, for example, NFT, hashtag, whatever. And your collection name could be test collection or something like that. Your symbol, your description, both of them have to be exactly the same, like in all your NFTs. There shouldn't be a difference because they throw errors later on when uploading. So let's now generate or fill our collection NFT, let's say so. So our collection PNG is for sure this one, and let's adjust our collection.json. So a name, I think, makes sense when it is, in our case, test collection, should be completely fine. TC symbol can remain the same. Image, we have to make sure to rename it to collection.png. Then we have our URI, should be collection.png too. And then we have our description. This is a test collection, perfectly fine. And then we have attributes, which should be just empty. And then we can hit save. And our collection JSON, our collection PNGs are ready. The last important step before we can move on to our next topic is validating our JSON files. And therefore, let's open the terminal real quick and let's type sugar validate and then the name of our assets folder, so assets. And when we now hit enter, within a few seconds we see validation complete, your metadata files looks good. Command successful. This means artwork and metadata generation is now finished. Our assets are ready to upload and do further steps. So let's continue with whitelist preparation. Many of you probably want to do a pre-sale. With a pre-sale, you can enable some members of your community to mint the NFT within a special period, so that they kind of have a guaranteed mint. The only way to handle a pre-sale with the Candy Machine is by doing a token-based mint. This means, to buy your NFT during the pre-sale period, the customer needs to have a whitelist token in their wallet, which is used to mint the NFT. So the token works as a kind of access ticket for the mint. If you don't have a whitelist token, you're not able to mint within this period. Wallet-based mints are, as far as we know, not easily possible with Sugar and the Candy Machine program. To later on set everything up correctly, there are a few things which we have to prepare right now, which I call whitelist preparation. Therefore, we now have to create a vanity key pair, a token account, and mint some of these tokens to be able to launch our Candy Machine correctly within the next step. The complete whitelist mint process and how we move on to public mint, this is something I will explain later on, but right now these preparation steps are important. The first thing we have to do if we want to use SPL token commands or also Sugar commands is check if our Solana config is correct. Therefore, let's write Solana config get and check if our RPC URL is what we want it to be and if our seller key pair is in our key pair path. As we can see, DevNet and the SE key pair are correctly filled, so we can now move on generating a new key pair. Why am I doing this? Because I want that the token public key is something I decide. So for example, what we will do now, Solana keygen grind -- starts - with, and then I want my whitelist token to begin with the letters W and L. So I write starts with WL1, hit enter, and now I can see additionally to my seller key pair I have a whitelist key pair within my v2 folder. So now we can move on with creating the token. Therefore we write SPL token create -token, then we type WL, hit tab, it gets filled automatically, and then we need for whitelist tokens to do one important attribute, which is --decimals 0. This attribute means the smallest transferable part of our token is one token. So we don't have any kind of decimals on our token. One token stands for its own and we can't divide it in smaller parts. It's not possible. So let's hit enter on this. And next thing is creating our token account. Therefore write SPL token create -account, then again WL, hit enter. And now we can see with SPL token accounts that we have an empty token account. Next thing, of course, is minting some of our tokens. Therefore, we use the mint command again with WL, and then we want to mint 100 tokens. Hit enter, and if we use SPL token accounts, again we see we have a balance of 100 tokens in our SPL token account of the token WL and so on. And that's basically it for the moment. We just needed the token, a few of them, and the token account to move on with Sugar. One thing or one information we need later on is the SPL token account public address. Therefore, we can use the command SPL token accounts with a -v for verbose at the end so that we get more information. And here we can see the token name is WL and so on, and the account name begins with HP. 100 minted is an information we get too, but the information which is important later on for us is the SPL account, the SPL token account. And now I'd say let's move on with launching our candy machine with Sugar. There are basically two ways how we can use Sugar. The one way is the one I prefer, which I will show you in the end, and the other way is the, let's say, easiest way. Therefore, we just need to run the command sugar launch, hit enter, and we will get a walkthrough through the whole process, the whole launch. So we just need to have our informations ready, which we need, and go through each of the steps, give the correct answer, and Sugar is handling everything else for us. So first question, could not load config file, would you like to create a new config file? Of course, yes. We don't have a config right now, so let's generate it through the process. What is the price of each NFT? Let's say 1 Sol. We found 100 files, 5 pairs and assets. Is this how many NFTs you will have in your candy machine? Yes, it is. Found symbol TC. Is it correct? Of course. How much seller fee basis points do we want to get? So how many royalties do we want to have? Let's say 500 seller fee basis points, which represents royalties of 5%. Hit enter. What is your go live date? Let's say 2022 month August, date today. What time? Let's say in 2 hours. 17:00:00, and then our offset to UTC. I think we should take it -2 because we are on UTC +2 right now. Whoopsie. While rewatching our videos, I just recognized that I made a mistake on the go live date offset. What I've done here with -002 is that the release will be 2 minutes earlier than written here in UTC time. How this offset actually works is if we, for example, want to release in 30 minutes at 1 PM and I'm in UTC +2, what I have to write is UTC 02 because the first 2 numbers are for hours, and then 00 because we don't have a minute offset. We just have a 2-hour offset and that's it. So if you are in UTC +4, for example, you would write +0400 and that would be good to go. So let's continue with the video. So let's hit enter. How many creator wallets do you have? I just have 1 creator wallet. Enter creator wallet address. Therefore, we can just take the public key out of our V2 folder right here and paste it here, our seller wallet. Enter royalty percentage, 100% because we just have 1 creator. And now we get a few extra features which we can use. The first is SPL token mint and gatekeeper. Then we have whitelist mint, which we will handle later in this video, so let's skip this for the moment. Then we have end settings, which could be interesting for you. And then we have hidden settings, which is mostly used for reveal functionality, which is something we don't handle in this video. So let's choose right now SPL token mint, gatekeeper and end settings, and skip whitelist mint for later and hidden settings for the whole video. If you are interested in reveal functionality and you want us to do an extra video on this, leave us a comment so that we know that we should do this video ASAP. The first thing we handle now is SPL token mint. The difference between a normal mint and an SPL token mint is basically only that instead of getting paid with Solana, you can get paid with any token you want. It would make sense to choose a token right here, which is some kind of currency, like for example, Dust of DGods. Right now we don't have a token ready like that, so let's choose the whitelist token we have right here. Let's paste not the address of our seller key pair, but the address of our whitelist token. So let's remove this public key and paste the whitelist token public key. And now, as mentioned earlier, we have to choose the SPL token account address. This is what we see right here when we do SPL token accounts-v. So let's paste the SPL token account of our whitelist token. The next thing, or the next feature we can now configure is Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is some kind of on-chain capture. which, yeah, is some kind of bot protection. So nevertheless, if you go over the front end or via the smart contract directly, CivicPass protects the mint. So before minting, you get a captcha which you have to solve. Without that, you can't mint any of the NFTs. So let's use CivicPass, and then we can decide if CivicPass or the captcha appears only on the first mint and afterwards you can mint without solving the captcha again, or if the captcha appears on every mint. So on the first mint, on the second mint, every time you mint you have to solve a captcha. I think the second way is the way which is relevant for most of you. The next feature we can now configure is end settings. With end settings, you can decide if your mint should end on a specific date or on a specific amount minted. So for example, if you start your public mint as we do at 5 PM or 17 o'clock, you can, for example, decide that on 18 o'clock or 6 PM, the mint ends automatically. And then you can maybe continue the public mint later on. Or this can be used for too is if you want whitelist mint as pre-sale and you want to end it after 200 mints, and then you can choose an amount here. Right now, let's just choose after 50 mints, the mint automatically stops and we are good to go. The next thing which Sugar asks us is if we want to upload, what upload method we want to use. There are a few possibilities: bundler, AWS, NFT storage, or SHDV. For most of you, the simplest one is probably bundler, but you can use NFT storage too, because NFT storage is free to use. You can just search on Google for NFT storage, create an account, and then put the keys inside Sugar, and you can use this one for free. But the easiest one right now is bundler. And also, bundler isn't that expensive. It maybe gets a little bit expensive when you have many NFTs, but I think for most of you it should be affordable. Next question is, do you want to retain update authority on your NFTs? This means if you later on want to do any changes on the on-chain data, you can do this by using your seller key pair. Of course, this is a pretty important thing if you mess something up. Do you want your NFTs to remain mutable? We highly recommend to choose yes. This basically means, do you want your NFTs to be editable later on? So same here, update authority decides who can edit it, mutable decides if it's editable in general. So of course here we choose yes too. And now we see the update of our NFTs is started automatically and pretty fast. I don't know if you guys remember Metaplex uploads, which took from time to time, depending on how many NFTs you have, a few hours. We see 100 NFTs are uploaded within a few seconds. And now Sugar Launch is complete. Our Candy Machine is online and we can check our Candy Machine on solaneyes, which is a pretty cool site, which I just discovered with the launch of Sugar. And if we hit enter and paste the link here, we can have a look at our complete Candy Machine. We can see how many items are available, who is the creator, we can see the live date, the go live date, we can see a few of our next mints, we can see how many NFTs we have minted and all that stuff. The only thing I'm confused about right now is the mint price. If you have a case like this that you think you have typed, for example, 1 sol, and on solaneyes you see something is wrong, something is not correct here, you can always check your config files. Therefore, we have a Sugar log here and we have a cache.json and a config.json. So let's open the config.json. This file is similar to what we got earlier with Metaplex config. So here we can see which prices do we have, which numbers do we have, which amounts, and all that stuff. And here we probably see the reason for the mint price fail, because as you remember, we choose the SPL token mint. So right now we need 1 SPL token to mint 1 NFT. We don't have to pay any sol or anything like that. And that's probably why the mint price here is 0 sol, because we don't pay in Solana. And this is the easy way. You can just use the Sugar Launch command, go through it, think about every step, think about your release, type in everything, launch it. So go through completely, and that's it. You have your Candy Machine online, you have your live date set, your artworks are correct, and you can now just implement your Candy Machine into your frontend, and that's it. That's the way how you can release an NFT collection the easiest. What I usually do, and there we will go a little bit deeper within the next steps, but I just rush through Sugar Launch just to generate my config.json. I set the live date far in the future just to get my config.json, and then I do my changes within the config.json. I adjust it and I prepare a few of them for each step of my release. The different release steps, as mentioned, is something we will explain later on. What I want to show you right now is how I go through the launch process the first time. Therefore, I just adjusted the generated files within my folder so that I can launch a second Candy Machine without any problems. And now let's go through the Sugar Launch process again. So I just press yes here, NFT price doesn't matter right now. Then seller fee basis points, 5%, let's stick with this. Now we need to choose a date, so let's choose 2022 in, for example, September, just far away, so that it's not released by accident. For example, 20 o'clock, and then type no offset at all. How many creator wallets do you have? I have one creator wallet. Enter creator address. Let's stick there with our correct creator address. Hit enter. Royalty percentages 100%. Let's skip extra features. Sold treasury address is the same as our normal address. Then we use bundler. We want to remain update authority and mutability. And now our artworks are uploaded. As before, this takes a few seconds, but not a little as long as before. Some struggles with the last. There it is. Now it deploys the Candy Machine. It's writing the config files. The last step will be verifying the upload, and that's it. And now we have our, let's say, Candy Machine unprepared in Solana Ice, which we could review now. We can have a look. We just see, okay, it's the 1st September as date, and 30 days far away enough to handle all the steps in between. And now let's have a look at our config.json. So right here we got the config.json, which we can adjust and later on use for updating. We have our price, we have our number, we have our gatekeeper, creator, soil treasury account, and all this. And now we can adjust it to our needs. What I will adjust exactly and what all these fields mean is something I will explain later on. But right now you can choose between the easy way, so set up everything with Sugar, just type in your data directly and you have generated the, let's say, correct config.json in the first place. Or you do it like I do it, Sugar Launch, just rush through it, just generate the config.json and adjust it to your needs later on. No matter which way you have chosen, the way where you get the correct config file from the beginning, but a little bit less flexibility, or the way you have just rushed through the Sugar Launch process and you now have a config file which you set up later on. You have a Candy Machine online, your config file is generated, your artworks are uploaded, and you can now continue with setting up your front end for the mint process. So let's do this right away. The next thing we need is the front end. So the place where basically our customers can buy our NFTs. There are a few repositories out there which most of them work very well. The two I can clearly recommend is the Metaplex Foundation Candy Machine UI, so the official product from Metaplex. What we usually use is the front end of Bloodspill. As you know from our last videos, he's always updating his frontend, so nevertheless, which change happens, the frontend is mostly working within a few days. So the Candy Machine V2 responsive UI is our normal way to go, and the one which I want to show you now. When we scroll down here to the instructions, we see how the front end looks like, and down here we have a button for one-click Vercel deployment. If you don't already have a Vercel account, this is the place where you should create one, and in best case a GitHub account too if you don't have one. Because now what we can do from the README here is click deploy, and we are directly leaded to our Vercel account in the place where we can create a new repository. So let's see. My name is not Leon, is the correct Git user in our case. Repository name, let's name it test front end. Sounds pretty good, with a dash and small letters, of course. My bad. Create a private Git repository. Of course, we want to have it in a private manner, and then we can click create right here. Perfect. Now we see the .env file represented as required environment variables. So we have our React App Candy Machine ID here, we have our React App Solana network here, and we have our React App Solana RPC host here, which we can fill directly within Vercel. So let's do this right now. The first thing we need is our Candy Machine ID. To find this one, we open our cache file, our cache.json. For better overview, press format document, scroll up completely, and then we see here at the top our Candy Machine ID, which we can copy now with Command C and paste into our environment variables. Then we have React App Solana network. Here, as we can read down here, we need DevNet or Mainnet beta. Depends on which network we want to release. So let's type here DevNet in our case, and then we need a RPC host, which could be the Solana endpoints, for example rp.devnet.solana.com, or in case you are doing a mainnet release, a custom RPC. Right now the DevNet RPC is good enough, and now we can click deploy and see what is happening. This is the page where we are redirected when our deployment is finished. From here on, we can either move to our current deployment, hosted under Vercel, to see how the design currently looks, or how it works, or we can move to the dashboard, which is the place in Vercel where you can manage everything, from domain settings to your current deployments. And from here on, let's open the GitHub repository, because our next task is to clone this GitHub repository to our system and then do some front-end adjustments so that the design in the end fits your collection. Therefore, let's copy the HTTPS link right here. Let's open the terminal, maybe clear it for a second, and then let's write git clone and paste the HTTPS link here. Due to it's a private repository, we now have to authenticate ourselves. Therefore, let's start with the name. My name is not Ian. But now we don't type our password. What we need to type here is a private access token. Therefore, to generate this, we can go to settings in our GitHub profile, scroll down to developer settings right here, personal access token, and then we can click here, generate a personal access token. Let's name this one CLI, because we want to authenticate our CLI with it. Let's pick 7 days, because I will delete the token afterwards right away. And then the only thing we have to choose is repo, full control over private repositories. And now we can generate the token, copy it, and then paste it as our password into the command line and hit enter. And then we can clone the private repository and everything is fine. And we can now find it in our v2 folder under test frontend. So I would say, let's do some adjustments now. The first thing we should do now is moving into our test frontend. So cd test frontend, and then type yarn install to install all our dependencies. In the meantime, let's have a look at the documentation of the repository. So here at the beginning we got some general information, our one-click Vercel deployment. We have some prerequisites, installation instructions and all that stuff. Something about the .env things, something about the startup, and then down here at point 4 we have the places where we can add the appearance of the front end. We have the app CSS, we have the public folder, and we have home TSX. And these 3 are the places where we will change the major things right now. So let's see, everything is installed. So to get the front end started right now, which is better, I always start the front end at the same time while I'm editing, so I can see live the changes I make. Let's build the .env file. So remove the .example from here, open it up, and then let's put in the information we got already. To get the Candy Machine ID, we have to have a look as before in our cache file right here. So let's copy it out from here, nice, and paste it into the appropriate place. And as we see, devnet and API devnet Solana is already up to date. So let's hit Command Save and we are good to go. And now let's click back into our terminal, type yarn start, and now the front end should start up. As we can see, it's loading on localhost 3000. Perfect. So while this is loading, let's open up the front end repository within VS Code so we can edit it. Therefore, let's open VS Code, open folder, test front end, and of course I trust Bloodspill. And now we are in our repo and we can start making some adjustments. So let's see, it's loaded behind us, behind the VS Code window. Perfect. So let's first have a look at app.css. Let's get started with giving some colors. Main background color is obsolete for us because we have a background picture, we don't see the background color, so let's skip this. Card background color, I'm a big fan of a good old dark gray, so let's choose something like that. And if we now hit Control Save and move back to our front end, then we see the changes are directly implemented. So let's quickly finish the color finding process. Here I think I want a light gray, something like that. Main text color I think can remain in a good old white tone, but maybe let's do it a little bit brighter. And title text color should be similar as the countdown background color. So let's choose something in that direction. I think fair enough. And let's hit Control Save, have a look at how our card is looking like. Perfect. On top everything is fine. Our caption is readable. The button is good. Perfect. So then maybe quickly let's connect our Phantom wallet. Seller wallet, connect. Let's see how the countdown looks like. I think that's great. So let's move on and let's populate the GIF. Therefore I have prepared a GIF already, which I now just drag and drop into the public folder and replace the old GIF. And then we see our emoji slider right here. Perfect. And then let's replace the background picture, which is in src img. I have prepared this one too. So let's just again drag and drop, replace. And then we see beautiful forest in the background. Now I recognize a few more things which I want to change. For example, the first thing I see is the font family. I like it more plain, so let's remove this right here and take something more similar. Control Save. Let's have a look. Much better. And then I would say, let's continue with the title and the logo up here. Therefore, we open the index.html file. The title is down here. So let's rename it in test collection mint. Hit save. And now we see test collection mint. The title changed. Perfect. Then let's change the logo PNG. Therefore, maybe let's take just an NFTs of ours and rename it to logo.png. Move to trash and rename logo.png. Let's see. If it takes too long, I usually just reload the page. And now we see one of our PNGs up here as an icon. Test collection mint. So the last thing I want to change is this text right here. Therefore, I would say let's move into VS Code, and here we can find this thing in the home.tsx anywhere down here. Let's see my NFT up here, and let's name it test NFT. Sounds much better and represents the name of our NFT. And now, from our point of view, visually the front end is ready to go. So what we have to do now is to push our changes to GitHub. To do this, we can just open our terminal back up, type git add dot, then git commit -m fe adjustments, and then type git push, and then we should be good to go. And when we now have a look at Vercel, we should see we have a new commit which is currently building for our production deployment. As you can see, a few minutes ago our build gone through, so let's see how our web page is looking like now. And as expected, all our front-end adjustments are now live under a .vercel.app link. So the last thing that misses now for a good front-end is a custom domain. I'm sure most of you want to use a custom domain, so let's see how we can achieve this. Therefore, we go back to Vercel, then move to settings and to domains. And here we get the ability to add a custom domain. In this step, you now should purchase one on the site you want, but I can clearly recommend using Namecheap. It's not that expensive and it gives us all the functionality we need for free to host our Mint site on this domain. The domain I have is test-collection.xyz, so let's copy this name, paste it in here, remove the space so that we don't get any problems. And when we now click add, we can decide if we want to add www.testcollection and test-collection.xyz to it. So let's click add. And now it's saying invalid configurations. There are two ways to add it. The one name is with a record and CNAME, or the other way is with name servers, which is the much easier way. So therefore, let's copy the name servers, go back to Namecheap, name servers category, and let's add the two name servers to our custom DNS. And when we now click save, it can take a few seconds. Then basically all our work is done. The only thing we have to do now is to wait. And right here, I can give a clear recommendation. Start the whole technical process early enough, because each here and there are a few steps which can take a few seconds or maybe a few hours or maybe even a few days. And this is one of the processes. If you want to use a custom domain, this process now can take up to 24 hours. The longest time I ever waited for this are 8 hours, I guess. In most cases it is done within a few minutes, but keep in mind it can be that you wait 24 hours. So yeah, begin early with the technical process. So see you when the name servers are correct and the configuration isn't invalid anymore. As you can see, now our domain is correct, the configuration is finished, and if we click on the link right here, we should see our mint site under test-collection.xyz, which is perfect, and which means we are finished with our front-end steps. So our front-end is now ready to handle an actual mint. The last thing that is missing before we can talk about the question how to realize a clean mint is again the whitelist. A pre-sale or whitelist sale is currently with the Candy Machine only possible with a token based mint. There are a few pretty complicated workarounds which we will maybe present in future videos, how you could achieve a wallet based mint, but I can't remember any mint within the last few months which used this functionality. So right now the way to go on Candy Machine is a token based mint. Therefore we have in the config file a few things which we can set up. This is how the whitelist mint settings are looking in the current Sugar config file. We have mode, which could be burn every time or never burn. We have mint, which is basically the public key of our whitelist token. We have presale, which could be true or false. And we have a discount price. Let's begin with mode and discount price. As mentioned, mode could be burn every time. Burn every time would mean if you want to mint one NFT, you have to burn one whitelist token at the same time. So if you have one whitelist token, you have one whitelist spot and can mint in the presale process one NFT. If you choose never burn, the whitelist token is somehow more a kind of a access ticket. If you have one whitelist token, you can mint within the presale time as many NFTs as you want with this token. Most presales use the burn every time functionality because it just makes more sense if everyone has one whitelist spot. Discount price could be used to give a different price during the presale process. This means in your config at the top we have a price which could be, for example, 1 Solana. If you now do a presale where the discount price is 0.5, this means during the presale the price is 0.5 if you use a token, and during the public sale the price is the price at the top of the config with 1 Sol. If you don't want to give a discount price during presale and just want everyone to pay the same price, then you can just set discount price to null. The next thing we have is presale. Presale could be true or false, and the effect is pretty big honestly. If we set presale to true, we have obviously a go live date. Presale true in this case means that everything before the go live date is presale and everything behind the go live date is public sale. So basically what happens is as soon as you update your config file or your Candy Machine, from this moment on, everyone with a token could mint from the Candy Machine. After the go live date, the public mint is active and everyone could mint. So basically presale true means from the moment of the update, the presale is active, and from the go live date on, the public sale is active. When you set presale to false, what happens is that before the go live date, nothing happens. So nothing happens there. No one can mint before the go live date. And after the go live date, there is the presale. So the presale is there for an unlimited time, or you have, for example, end settings. Then you could say after 100 mints the pre-sale is closed. But when you set pre-sale to false, everything within your config file is for the pre-sale. In this case, for example, you have to set discount price to null, because it is not possible in a pre-sale false scenario to set the discount price to 0.5, for example, because for this pre-sale the price at the beginning of the config file is mandatory. So to sum up, if you set pre-sale to true, the pre-sale is active from the moment of the update on, and with the go live date the pre-sale goes public. With pre-sale false, the pre-sale goes live with the go live date and is stopped only when you stop it manually or when you have end settings. And there will never be a switch up to a public mint. The general problem with this is just that we don't have the ability within one config to give a public mint and a pre-sale a go live date. But never mind, there is a way how you can realize in our eyes a pretty clean mint. This is what I will show you in the next part. But maybe before we handle this one, let's talk about the distribution of the whitelist tokens. What we usually do is airdropping the tokens directly into the wallets of our customers by using a Python script. A clear advantage of this is, first of all, it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use, and it's the easiest way for the customer to get their whitelist spots. A disadvantage is that it costs 0.002 Sol, so keep in mind if you, for example, send 1000 tokens to 1000 different people that you pay 2 Solana for it. But how can we actually handle this? In our Discord server, under the channel Candy Machine, under pinned messages, you can find a message of Bloodspill, where he sent the Python script, which is named airdrop.py, and a command. So let's quickly download the Python script. So first of all, let's drop the Python script into our documents v2 folder. So let's head to download and take airdrop to documents and into the v2 folder. But let's go through the command real quick. What do we have here? Python 3 or Python, depends on which Python version you use. Then the name of airdrop of the Python script, airdrop.py. Then transfer, because of course we want to transfer our tokens. Then -a wallets.txt, a simple txt file where we store the wallet public keys which we want to airdrop our tokens to. Then drop 1, which means we want to airdrop 1 token per wallet. We could put there a 5, for example, too, then each wallet would get 5 tokens. Then fund recipients and allow unfunded recipients. The files we should now generate is on the one hand wallets.txt and the config.n file. Let's get started with the config.n file. The first two things we have to populate is token mint and token decimals. Token mint is just the public key of our token, which you can find in the JSON file which we generated earlier. And token decimals on a whitelist token should be 0, but it depends what you have configured at the beginning. If you, for example, have a token which should be used as a currency later on, then the decimals probably isn't 0, but then keep in mind that the Python script always distributes the smallest amount possible. So if token decimals is 0, it distributes 1 token. Drop 1 means 1 token. If token decimals, for example, is 1, then drop 1 means 0.1 token, and so on and so on. So just keep this in mind. Then we have RPC URL, where we could place a custom RPC, for example, in a mainnet scenario. But right now, let's just populate it with the devnet RPC, which you can find in the Solana config if you don't have it on your hand right now. And that's basically it. All the log stuff can be as it is. So let's continue with generating the wallets.txt file. Therefore, let's create a new text file and let's populate it with the public key of a wallet which we want later on to mint our whitelist. Therefore, I have already generated a buyer wallet where I copy the public key right now and I just paste it into the txt file, and that's it. If you want to have more than one wallet which you send tokens to, then you can just put them under each other and that's it. So let's save the txt file like that right now with the name wallets.txt in the v2 folder. Perfect. And then we should be good to go actually right now. Let's copy the command of bloodspill in our server. And then let's go to the terminal and paste it in here. If you now hit enter with Python 3 and the command is not working and saying something like Python 3 is not installed, then just remove the 3 and try it again with Python before searching for a solution. In my case, Python 3 should work, and now the script starts. What can we see? Airdrop amount, airdropping to 4 users, estimated total tokens to be distributed 4. Then we have our log folders, and now we can confirm our first transaction. SPL token transfer of whitelist token to BUV buyer wallet with fund recipient and allow unfunded recipient. Press enter to confirm. So let's hit enter and see what happens. Success. Of course, you don't want to confirm each and every airdrop if you have, like, for example, 100 wallets. Therefore, you can just type all, hit enter, and then it's doing automatically all the airdrops to the wallets. So now we had 4 single airdrops to our buyer wallet. So let's see if we received our whitelist tokens. Type password, unlock, and let's see. Phantom bug again, but we can see here we have 4 of our whitelist tokens. Perfect. And that's how we airdrop or distribute our whitelist tokens. Maybe a few informations in addition. When we have to airdrop, for example, 2000 tokens, to faster the process a little bit, we split the wallets txt into 4 batches and run each batch in its own folder. And sometimes it isn't done with one run because you have, for example, a few failed or unconfirmed transactions. If you have an unconfirmed transaction, you have to check the public key if the token arrived or not. But in most cases, you have either confirmed or failed transactions. If you want to see your failed or unconfirmed transactions, we have these wonderful log files here. So let's, for example, open the failed log, and here we could see in a CSV format which recipient got which amount and which error. So we could just copy the recipients out, generate a new wallets txt, and start a new run. On unconfirmed, it's exactly the same setup. So if you want to check the unconfirmed ones, then just open the unconfirmed log and then copy each one, check on source scan if it received the token or not. That's the easiest and fastest way to handle an airdrop of a lot of tokens. Now you have all the tools you need to make a release. But how does we actually realize a clean mint experience? First of all, there are a few possibilities that just cannot be realized with the current candy machine to our knowledge. For example, a whitelist mint with 2 different tokens and different prices. This is something which is after the current stand just not possible. We just have the ability to use one whitelist token within one pre-sale stage. Also, it is currently not possible to accept Solana and another token as payment at the same time. So things like the user can decide either he pays with our currency or with Solana, things like that are just not possible currently because there's no availability to set something like this up with the candy machine. But in our experience, what is actually the best process for a mint? In most cases, we have 3 stages. The whitelist mint and public mint are both closed, is stage 1. So before anyone can mint. Then we have a go live date for the presale, and the second stage is the whitelist mint or the presale. And then before stage 3, the presale ends and we move to a public mint. So on the go live date of the public mint, everyone can start to mint. That's stage 3, the public mint. This process is not possible without another update when the mint has started. With the current Candy Machine settings, we have only one go live date. That means we can either say when the whitelist mint starts or when the public mint starts. The result of this is that either the whitelist mint has no fixed start time, or we have to update again during the whitelist mint to realize a on-point public mint. Option 1 is probably just not possible for most of you. It doesn't make sense to don't have a specific start date for the presale, so it just starts fluidly. This is just something that is not proper. And also updating all the time short before a go live date of the presale of a public mint shouldn't be an option 2, because what if the network is not 100% working right now and you get constant error messages while updating? It's just a stressful situation that we don't need. Let me now walk you through an entire mint process as we would implement it. What we usually do is we have 2 different config files. The first config file we have is for this period of time. So it's from stage 1, the whitelist and public mint is closed, until the middle of the whitelist mint or short after the beginning of the whitelist mint. What we are setting up here is we set the go live date to the beginning of the presale, and we set presale false. So the only thing we are controlling with this config is we have a closed mint until the go live date, and afterwards we have a whitelist mint where only people with the token can mint. During this period of time, during the begin presale and begin public mint, we have a few minutes or a few hours to update our Candy Machine with the second config file. And in this case, we updated like that we set the go live date now to the public mint and the presale to true. So from the moment on the Candy Machine is updated, the presale is active, and with the begin of the public mint, the whitelist mint settings are no longer valid and everyone can mint from our collection. So right now we need to prepare 2 config files, which we then can use for an update command to change the settings of our Candy Machine between presale and public mint. To now set up our config.json file, as we need it for our 2 mints or for our 2 mint stages, there are 2 documentation parts. First of all, we have the Candy Machine documentation from later on, where the config file is explained. And as you can see, both configs are nearly similar. But before just implementing something from this documentation, have a look at the configuration part of the Sugar documentation, because here you can exactly read what is the difference between the Candy Machine JSON from later on and the Sugar JSON file, the Sugar config file from today. Let's now have a look at the config file. I think the first things we can set up right away. We want a price of 1 sol and we need a amount of 100. Then we have Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper, as you maybe remember from the Sugar launch process we did first, is the captcha logic. So I would say it makes sense to copy the captcha logic into it. So we can now move to the Metaplex Candy Machine documentation, move to captcha settings, which I by accident skipped from on top here. We can copy this part and paste it into our config file. Here the comma is missing, and that's it. Now we have to put in the provider network address. We see the 2 choices down here, civic captcha pass and verify by Encore. So let's copy this address, paste it in here, and then we have captcha settings enabled. Now, so the creator is correct too, Sol treasury account is correct too, SPL token account and SPL token are for an SPL token mint, and then we have our go live date. Let's assume our go live date should be today at, let's say, 1 p.m. 15. Then we adjust our date to the 4th of August 2022. The time we set to 1350, and then we have to adjust our offset. As mentioned earlier, we are on UTC +2, so we write +0200. Keep in mind, the first 2 letters are for hour offsets, the second 2 letters are for minute offsets. So if you are, for example, 2.5 hours behind, then you would write 0230. But in our case, it's just 0200. And then our go live date is correct. So the next thing we could do are end settings. Right now we don't need them, but if you, for example, want to, I don't know, end the pre-sale when 100 of your NFTs are sold, then you can just go into the Metaplex Candy Machine configuration documentation and copy the settings here and adjust them to your needs. Then we have whitelist mint settings. This is where it's get interesting. So let's copy from the Candy Machine docs our whitelist mint settings. Now, one thing, as mentioned before, which could happen, so always keep the sugar CLI documentation in your mind. One thing changed on whitelist mint settings, and this is the part of this object right here. Instead of having an object which says burn every time true, the only thing we have right now is a string. So the mode equals a string which could either be burn every time or never burn. Then we need to adjust our mint to our whitelist token public key. So let's copy it from here, copy and paste, and this part is correct too. Then, as seen in our little graph here, we need presale set to false and discount price to null, so that our presale begins with occurrence of the go live date. So let's set presale false, discount price is already null, and we are good to go on these ones. Then we have hidden settings, which doesn't matter in this video. And then we have a few more things like upload method, is mutable, symbol, seller fee basis points, and all that stuff, which are not relevant and sometimes not even able to change right now. So let's just stick with the settings down there. Now our config file is ready, so let's move on to the public mint config. Therefore, we can just copy our config file and paste it. Then let's rename it to config_rm for public mint. Let's drop it into the v2 folder and open it into VS Code. So if we now want to realize our public mint at, for example, 1:30 p.m., then we just have to change the date here. And what is important, that we set presale to true, so that from the update on, the presale is still ongoing, and with occurrence of the go live date, our public mint goes live. So let's save this one here. Now we can start updating our Candy Machine. Therefore, we can just go back to the terminal, check if we are on the correct folder, v2, and then let's type sugar update -h for help, and let's see which attributes we can fill in here. And there we see the two important things we need is config and cache, and both are default set to config.json and to cache.json. And our cache file is named cache.json, which we need, and the first config we need is also config.json. So let's just write sugar update, and it is working from itself. And now our Candy Machine should be updated within a few seconds. So maybe let's have a look at solaneyes. Let's reload the page. And after a few seconds, we should be able to see the correct mint date within 8 minutes, which is perfectly fine. So now let's have a look at our front end and see if we can see the countdown right now. So I need to be in my buyer wallet because there I have the whitelist mint tokens. So let's select the wallet, authorize Phantom, connect. And now we can see with whitelist tokens in 7 minutes the mint begins. Perfect. So let's wait until then. Maybe while waiting, I can show you how the mint now looks for people who don't have a whitelist token. So let's change to my wallet 1 and let's reload the page. And there we can see people that don't have a whitelist token right now see mint is private. So after the go live date, when the countdown is over, people will still see mint is private. So they are not able to mint until we update our Candy machine. So let's move back to our buyer wallet and let's wait until the countdown is finished. Okay, so in a few seconds our countdown is over and then we should be able to mint. So now we see I have 4 whitelist tokens. So let's mint 1 token. The first thing that comes up is of course the civic verification. So please click an image containing a dog with a collar on its neck. So we have here a collar, and I think that's a collar too. So let's continue. And now, after the captcha, we are able to mint 1 token. So let's approve this one. It's loading. Again, approve. And now we approve the real payment. And now we should be able to see our first whitelist NFT within our Phantom wallet. Let's reopen Phantom. Sometimes it takes a few seconds. And there it is, NFT hashtag 36. Picture's not loading right now, but this is our first NFT. Perfect. So maybe quickly double check how it looks right now for a wallet which don't has whitelist tokens. And still mint is private, everything is fine. They are not able to mint right now. So let's now, during the presale, take the chance to update our config file. As you know, we have prepared the config_pm and we can now run the sugar update command again, but with the config flag with -c and then the name of our new config file. So let's run sugar update -c and then config_pm.json and let's hit enter. And now we updated our Candy machine so that the presale is still active, but on go live date, so in 30 minutes, our public mint is live. Let's see on solaneyes if what I said is correct. And now we see in 12 minutes, there's our go live date. And let's have a look how it is looking for other buyers now. The mint is not private anymore. We have a countdown to the public mint. But when we now skip back to our buyer wallet, so let's do this quickly. And we reload the page, then we are still able to whitelist mint our NFTs. So let's approve the Civic Pass transaction. Maybe to explain why it's not popping up this time, because I have already done it off camera. And we have minted again. So again, when I now click mint, I have to do Civic Pass again. I can mint further NFTs. So let's do this quickly. Containing a lion. These are lions, I guess. So continue. Approve. Should now come a second approve. On setup transaction. Approve, and now should be the real transaction. It is. So let's approve this one too. And now we can still mint a third token. So let's move back to the wallet 1 and then let's have a look at how the public mint goes live now. Now, in a few seconds, our public mint is live, and with our wallet 1, which don't has whitelist tokens or anything, we are now able to mint NFTs too. So let's again do the Civic Pass verification, airplanes, next. Verify and continue. Then again approve the 2 transactions. Now the account transaction, approve, and now the actual mint transaction, as we can see, no whitelist tokens anymore, just one Solana. So let's approve this one. And as we can see, our public mint is now live, so we can mint also with other wallets. And that's how we realize, in our eyes, the perfect candy machine mint. You have a pre-sale that's on time, you have a public mint that's on time, and during the mint you only need to run one update command without any time pressure. You have the whole pre-sale period for updating your candy machine, so if the network is slow, you have the possibility to rerun the command over again until it's going through. With what I showed you within the last few hours, you have the ability to realize your mint and your collection after your needs. But there are a few things which you can do if you, for example, on your road do a mistake, and how you can see if it's your mistake or if it's a network problem, and what to do if it's your mistake. So let's talk about this now. There are many different types of problems you can have during a mint. One of them could be, for example, that you are just not able to upload your artworks or to do on-chain changes, to update your candy machine, to in any way communicate with the network. There are many different possibilities which could lead to a mistake like that. For example, on an upload, if you are not able to upload your artworks, it could be that your JSONs are not correct, so the program cannot read your JSONs correctly. It could be also that, for example, your key pair isn't in the correct place, that your RPC node isn't working, or the DevNet RPC is not working. There are many different things that can happen. But when we talk about mainnet releases, the first thing I usually do is, when I recognize my upload isn't working or anything isn't as expected, then I head over to Magic Eden and I check the TPS, the transactions per second. Right now we are at 3400 TPS, which is a pretty good status of the network right now. TPS describe how many transactions per second can happen within the Solana network. So basically this number says, is it possible to work with the Solana network right now? Is the Solana network correctly configured and is it correctly working? Or if we are, for example, at 200 TPS, is it more likely that we have any problems with the network and an upload right now is just not the correct way? If you have any problems, get transaction errors or something like that, and you see the Solana network is at 200 TPS at the moment, then you just have to wait. Just wait until the network is in a better status and then retry. So that's the first thing I always check before doing something on mainnet. The second thing which you can have in mind for a second type of problem is if you, for example, mess something up with your artworks, but you have already uploaded your candy machine, everything is live. As you know, there's a small rent, so you spend some money on this, and you of course want to fix the problem. In most cases, what helps you with this is a simple withdraw command. You can, for example, if you do any kind of mistake, you can just withdraw your candy machine. There's also a second case for withdraw, which is not related to any kind of problem, because when your mint is over and you finished, you are sold out, you don't want to sell any NFTs anymore, you can withdraw your candy machine too, because there always is a small part of the rent which you can get back. So the withdraw command is pretty mandatory actually. So let's see how we can use the withdraw command with Sugar. Therefore, we can just write sugar withdraw and -h to see what type of options we have. And here, pretty fast, we can see the only thing we have to add is candy machine. The key pair is already in config, and RPC URL is only mandatory if you, for example, have any kind of problem. And then you can use a custom RPC. When you're on DevNet, you don't need one, so you're good to go. So let's now write sugar withdraw and then --candy -machine. And now let's have a look for our cache file, for our candy machine ID. Let's maybe start with the first one, which was the one we didn't use from now on. So let's copy this candy machine ID, paste it here, hit enter, and we are now retrieving funds. So we are getting our candy machine rent back. And that's basically it. Now you have withdrawn your candy machine and the candy machine is not existing anymore. Keep in mind, when withdrawing, for example, at the end of a release, if there are any unminted NFTs, these ones are burned. So it's not possible to mint them anymore. They are basically not existing. So your collection size goes down to nearly the number which is minted. So let's quickly withdraw our second candy machine too. Sugar withdraw dash candy dash machine. And then let's paste the second candy machine in there too. Copy and paste. And within a few minutes, we basically have finished completely closing our candy machine. Everything else is burned. Our mint is over. We have fixed any problems and we could now restart. For example, if we messed up something with the JSON files without making a big amount of loss or anything else. So we can just continue with creating a new candy machine or just continue with, working on our project. I'm pretty sure many of you now think, okay, cool, one stone, we know how to use Sugar, we know how to bring our front end up, we know how to distribute tokens. Basically, we know everything how we handle technical stuff, but only on DevNet. So how can we change to Mainnet? How can we do an actual collection? And before going into the technical side of this, there's one important thing which you need to know at the beginning. And that is the importance of custom RPCs. So basically, if you want to do anything, doesn't matter what, on Mainnet, you need a custom Mainnet RPC. One site which I can really recommend for this is QuickNote. We are using QuickNote for months and never had any problem with it. We pay $50 per month and this completely fits our needs. And we do sometimes a few projects per month over this RPC. So basically, I can really recommend using QuickNote. Pretty easy to use, pretty straightforward, and totally does its job. To maybe shortly explain what QuickNote is, it's some kind of endpoint. So we have these Mainnet beta endpoint, we have the DevNet endpoint. The endpoints are basically just the entry point to the network. So if you want to communicate from the normal World Wide Web to the Solana blockchain, you need an entry point, and this is an RPC, a custom RPC, or any kind of DevNet or Mainnet endpoint. And with a custom RPC, you have one RPC with the full load of connection it has for your own. So you don't get many transaction errors regarding the RPC is overused right now and it can't handle the amount of transactions it gets. Therefore, I can really recommend just use a custom RPC for everything you do on Mainnet. If you now want to do the steps of the past hours on Mainnet, there are just a few little things which you have to change. The first thing you probably remember is we set it up our Solana config at the beginning of the video. And here in RPC URL, we see we have a DevNet RPC here. If we now want to use a Mainnet RPC, we could, for example, just use the RPC of Genesis Go. Then we have to, then we have just to type Solana config set --URL and then Control V, and we have our Mainnet RPC directly in our RPC URL. That's the step we need to use Sugar on Mainnet, to use SPL tokens on Mainnet, and all that CLI things. But how can we use our front end on the Mainnet? Therefore, you probably remember we have these .env file here. So if you want to test it on localhost, just replace this part here with any kind of Mainnet RPC and type here mainnet-beta. Don't forget the beta. Very important. And then our frontend is hosted on the mainnet. When we now want to enable that our front end on our hosted domain on Vercel is working with a mainnet, then we can go to Vercel, to our project right here, and then we can go to settings, and here we have the tab environment variables. Probably you remember we set it up at the very beginning, and down here we are able to edit our React App Solana RPC host and could enter here the mainnet RPC too. So these are the steps regarding front end that we have to change for managing a mainnet mint. And then there's only one last thing missing to realize your complete release on mainnet, and that's the token distribution. You have to distribute your tokens on mainnet too, and as you remember, we had these config.env file, which you can see right now, which we use in combination with our airdrop Python script. And in the config.env, you have an RPC URL, and same as for Solana config or for environment variables in the front end, you can just change it right in the config, save it, and everything else is exactly the same. Just these three things: Solana config, front end environment variables, and config.env for token distribution, and the rest of the steps are exactly the same. So basically, right now, you have all the tools you need to realize your collection. We had installation guides, we have prepared our wallets, our artwork and metadata are generated with the Metaplex artwork generator, we have set up our candy machine with Sugar, we have generated our front end, we have worked with the whitelist and distributed the tokens. We have talked about how to realize a mint, what are the steps and when to do which update and use which config. And we have talked about mainnet releases and what to do on mistakes. Therefore, my part here is finished and you have everything you need to realize your collection technically.
Okay guys, welcome to the outro. You did it. Yeah, and we did it too. This was a lot of work for us, especially for Leon Onestone, who was working so much for this video. He just made 90% of it. And I also want to thank CodyOnChain for his part. And also big shoutouts to our team, especially Crumpop, who managed so much in our Discord server in the last months. And also to Bloodspill and the rest of the team, all the moderators. And yeah, we will be more active now on YouTube. And Leon, you can have the last words.
Yeah, thank you to all our contributors. Guys, we did a great job, I guess. And yeah, thank you for watching. See you guys.
See ya.